I'm going to read a definition to you, and then I want you to try and figure out what it is exactly that I'm describing. So, here we go. The definition is keen mental suffering or distress over affliction or loss. To all those who guessed grief, then hooray, you, my friend, are correct. If we're being honest though, that probably wasn't too hard of a thing to guess, since chances are every person watching this has experienced some form of grief before. That and the fact that the word is also literally in the video's title. Anyways, grief, like any other human emotion, is painfully complex and extremely nuanced, as it varies from person to person. However, there are typically 6 stages one goes through while they are grieving. These stages are 1. Denial, 2. Anxiety and panic, 3. Bargaining and control, 4. Frustration and anger, 5. Depression and despair, and then finally number 6, which is peace and acceptance. My Dear Melancholy is one of the least talked about projects by The Weeknd, and I believe the amount of coverage it gets is borderline criminal. So in this video, I plan on shedding some light on this project by examining how The Weeknd uses it to explore and represent these 6 stages of grief. But if you want to examine the project properly, we first need to get an idea of his headspace at the time. So let's start off by establishing some context. I want you to imagine that you are The Weeknd. It is 2017 and you're riding high off the success of Starboy. This is an album which played a crucial role in cementing yourself as one of the largest names within the realm of pop music. All things considered, it appeared as if everything was going well for you. You're fresh off a Grammy, you're in the middle of a $100 million tour, you've been working out and improving your health, not to mention, you're in a loving relationship with a fellow A-list celebrity. You have no complaints, life is going quite well. So, let's fast forward to October of 2017, when your name is now all over the tabloids. However, you don't even have to check the articles. You already know why. It's because the public finally knows that you and your A-list girlfriend have split. Apparently, the world is shocked. And the thing is, you can't even blame them, because you didn't see the breakup coming either. Your tour has finally come to an end, so you decide to take some time off to focus on your mental health as you come to terms with the reality of the situation. But things aren't nearly as easy as you'd have hoped. In an attempt to take your mind off things, you decide to do what you're best at, make music. So you quickly get to work, and within a few months' time, you release My Dear Melancholy to the world on March 30th, 2018. It's an EP which veered away from the upbeat sounds on Starboy and drew inspiration from that of your earlier work. The sound change, however, is fitting for what the album represents. You start the EP with one of your best performances ever in Call Out My Name. When writing this song, you thought back to when the relationship had just ended, and you thought about how much you begged and pleaded with her. That was you trying your best to hold on to the relationship. After all, that relationship has been the source of so much joy. To get your point across, you decided to include lyrics like, "We found each other, I helped you out of a broken place. You gave me comfort, but falling for you was my mistake." You also sprinkle in, I put you on top, I claimed you so proud and openly. And when times were rough, I made sure I held you close to me. Your heart hasn't stopped racing for the past week. You can barely sleep, and you only take in a meal and a half at most per day. You think back to when the relationship began. You think about how safe you felt, and how relieved you were that you could finally feel vulnerable without that crippling anxiety biting at your heels. You include additional lyrics like, "Guess I was just another pit stop till you made up your mind." You're currently experiencing disbelief. No way she would just leave you like that. Everything seemed fine a week ago. We discussed our future together. What houses we'd like, what names we'd like, how we'd have a son first so he could protect his little sister. It's as if you were used and discarded, as if you were simply a means to an end. You wonder what you did to deserve this. The first stage of grief is shock and denial, and it's typical to experience this following a loss of some kind. After all, there's no way this can be actually happening to you. There's no way you can even comprehend your life moving forward like this. You can't comprehend your life moving forward without her in it. This initial denial helps you cope with your loss, but it also makes you feel numb. It makes you feel hard and it makes you feel frozen. You try your best to avoid feeling anything, but you know it's bubbling under the surface, and eventually you'll have to confront those feelings. For weekly videos covering topics like this, please subscribe to the channel. Your support is what makes this possible. The second song of your EP is Try Me, and in it you say, "Anytime is the time. Anytime for you to get my call, baby. Are you alone, baby? If he ain't around, pick up the phone, baby." It seems as if she's moved on already. It seems as if your suspicions are right. You were simply a placeholder until she made up her mind. It seems as if you have been used. Despite all this, you're still willing to work it out, because you can't manage to uproot your life like this. She's been a part of your life for so long. You are afraid of having to learn to live without her. It's a daunting process, and it's one you're definitely not ready for. You go on to say, "I didn't know you were down for him finding out. I thought you had some kind of love for your man. Well, I'm not trying to break up something you've been working out. You've been steady, but I'm ready to go all the way if you let me. Don't you tempt me." It seems as if things aren't as they seem. Maybe the person she's now with isn't a permanent fixture. Maybe there's a chance you and her can still work something out. After all, if she was indeed serious about this new guy, then why would she still be in contact with you? So you raise your hopes, but alas, things don't go as you'd hope. It's been some weeks now, and meaningful communication with your ex is currently at a minimum. You guys hardly talk, and it's killing you. Why won't she give you the time of the day you ask? Perhaps if we had tried one more time, it would have worked out, you say to yourself. Over the past few weeks, your mental state has been getting worse. It's been a while since you've cleaned your room, and you don't even check your phone anymore. Nobody can get to you. Ultimately, deeper feelings about your loss have overcome your denial, and it has now caused you to become increasingly anxious. In turn, the anxiety and fear corrode your emotional numbness, and you can no longer avoid your feelings anymore. When someone is feeling helpless and vulnerable after a loss, the natural instinct is for that person to try and recover control. And try you did. Wasted times I spent with someone else. She wasn't even half of you. You lost yourself in someone else. You convinced yourself that you had made peace with the situation. Unfortunately, that was far from the case. Reminiscing how you felt, and even though you put my life through hell, I can't seem to forget about you. I want you to myself. Now that your mind has run amok, you're asking yourself questions you can't possibly know the answer to. So, the inevitable happens. You start answering them yourself. You start filling in the blanks on your own. So who do you belong to now? Who you give that love to now? Who you pulling up on? Who you getting sprung for now? And what they got that I ain't got? It's not long before you begin rationalizing, saying things like, maybe if I had spent more time with you. Maybe if I were more attentive. Maybe if I were more open with our relationship. Maybe if you had only told me how you felt, then maybe we would have gotten this to work out. You're thinking about all the things which could have probably gone differently if you got a second chance. You're feeling guilty because the depression has ridden you of all productivity. In an attempt to get out of this funk, you try to write a song, but no lyrics or melodies flow. You know for a fact that you could have done something differently to prevent this breakup. You know that all you need is one more chance to do things differently. You begin your next song with these lyrics. What makes a grown man want to cry? What makes him want to take his life? His happiness is never real, and mindless sex is how he feels. It's been months, and now all hopes of you and her getting back together have evaporated. You wake up and look in the mirror. There are bags under your eyes, and it's quite clear that you could probably use a shower too. In spite of this, you still can't find it in you to care. You can't feel any shame or any guilt. It's as if you're being powered by a battery of anger. Everything that you've been feeling is still there, but it's no longer manifesting as pitiful pleas for a second chance. It's no longer manifesting as you sitting in bed all day wondering what went wrong. No, it's manifesting as something much more sinister. It's now manifesting in the form of incessant screaming, holes in the wall, your inability to feel your face, and an unhealthy amount of casual frolicking. In our song you say, when it's time, it's time. When it's time, when it's time, when it's time. It won't matter, it won't matter. When it's time, when it's time, when it's time. It won't matter, it won't matter. And the thing is, there's not much else to say. You've become jaded. You are now using this heartbreak to justify your self-sabotage and reckless behavior. It's not long before you use the situation as evidence to confirm your nihilistic worldview. In the following lines, you describe yourself. It was like he was never there. It was like he was gone in thin air. You feel like you've lost a part of yourself to the relationship. You think about who you were during that period of time, but you're having a hard time remembering. In any case, whoever that person was made mistakes you'll make sure to never make again. Mistakes such as being too comfortable. Mistakes such as being too vulnerable. Mistakes such as being too trusting. Right now, you're isolated in a bubble of anger and despair. It doesn't take a genius to realize what you're going through. You are clearly spiraling, and everyone can see it. Everyone except for you. And now I know my relationship's my enemy, so stay away from me, I'm warning you. You try to fill the void with every man you meet, cause you're upset with me, I'm warning you. Just when you thought you could begin to move forward with your life, she returns. And she's not empty-handed, no, she's back with a carrot. She's dangling the prospect of a relationship right in front of you. This makes you think about the happy moments in your relationship. Suddenly, it's a tempting offer, but you won't be fooled twice. After all, you made that promise to yourself. You made a promise to never make the mistake of being in a relationship again. Perhaps if you were the old Abel, then you would bite on her offer. However, that Abel is gone. You've changed. I don't want to hurt you. Oh, I don't want to hurt you. Let's say you were willing to get back into the relationship. Let's say you were ready to give it a second chance. Let's say you were willing to break that promise to yourself and take that leap of faith. It wouldn't even be possible because the damage has been done. You know that you are now incapable of being fully vulnerable or trusting of anyone. There's no way you'd be in a position to satisfy her emotional needs. You've reached a point where having a healthy relationship seems to be impossible. In this song, you then say, because all the nights you slept alone drying your eyes, and all the nights you thought about taking your life, because if it's love you want again, don't waste your time. But if you call me up, I'm fucking you on sight. As much of the idea of it hurts, you still let her know that she'd have to find someone else to fill her void. She'd have to find someone else to use. You try to control your emotions but failed. So the spiral continues and it gets much deeper. It's becoming much more intense. Therefore, you begin withdrawing from life. It's the only way you can cope with everything that has happened. The pain and sadness you feel have now reached unfathomable levels. This is when you knew for a fact that life wouldn't be the same as before. The reality is setting in. It has slapped you in your face. Enjoy your privileged life, because I'm not going to hold you through the night. We said our last goodbyes, so let's just try to end it with a smile. Those lyrics indicate that you've reached the end of the road. It's been a while. You are finally at terms with the entire situation. Ultimately, you decide it's best that you try to preserve what little respect and love you have left for your ex. And I don't want to hear that you're suffering. You are suffering no more, because I held you down when you were suffering. You were suffering. A sigh of relief escapes your body. You can't believe it's done. The games are done. The shenanigans are over. This entire game you've both been playing had been exhausting, and you have nothing to show for it. Nothing to show for all the pain. Nothing to show for all the energy, time, and sacrifice. It's left you jaded and over it all. However, your conscience is clear, and you no longer care if she's still suffering. After all, you were in a relationship while she was suffering, and apparently she broke up with you to end that suffering. So, you don't want to hear the complaints. You don't want to hear the excuses. You are completely done with this. Blues away. Blues away. I got 2 red pills to take the blues away. Blues away, blues away. I got 2 red pills to take the blues away. You have finally come to terms with the fact that you will just have to figure out how to live with your misfortune and how to live with your pain. Regardless, it's a weird yet freeing sentiment. You will once again just have to figure out how to move forward. And it turns out that you have just the solution. It's inside of 2 red pills. You now understand that you will change. It's inevitable. One can't be the same after events like this. You'll need to develop and adapt to continue growing. Not that growing is anywhere near the top of your bucket list right now. In any case, the choice will be yours. You will decide if you will acknowledge the cards you've been dealt with and continue forward, or if you will curse the hand you've been given and quit the game. So thanks for sticking around till the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, and I will try to push out weekly videos for you just like this. If you have any suggestions, just leave it in the comments below. And yeah, thank you once again for sticking around and supporting the channel.